Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're diving into something genuinely mind-bending. We are exploring a profoundly bizarre, uncompromising worldview where reality isn't shaped by human morality or free will at all. Instead, it's completely governed by an invisible mathematical constitution. We're going to decode what the source material calls the Mathematical Dharma, and we'll be focusing on 4 unyielding axioms of pure logic. That wasting mathematical potential is morally wrong, that cultivation of pure math is our fundamental human responsibility, that math is never just a tool, and finally, that everyone deserves to maximize their potential. Let's dig into how these absolute laws demand a total reevaluation of what we call reality.
Here's a quick look at our roadmap. We'll start by unpacking the invisible constitution, then we'll look at why math is not a tool, the heavy moral weight of human potential, our fundamental responsibilities, how to actually maximize that potential, and finally, how to escape our finite reality entirely. To kick things off, the source text hits us with a deeply unsettling premise. We all walk around every day totally believing we possess sovereign free will, right? We think we're making our own independent choices in our careers, our social lives, our spending. But what if this entire transactional economy, your morning commute, checking your 401k, literally all your personal choices, what if all of that is just a mathematical glitch? What if everything you currently think of as real life is actually just a localized illusion running inside a predetermined, mathematically gerrymandered boundary?
Which brings us nicely to our first major concept, the invisible constitution. The text takes the ancient concept of Maya and applies it directly to modern mathematics. Now, Maya is defined here as the illusion of the finite narrative. It's this false, completely ego-driven belief that your single biological timeline and the exhausting consumer economy you participate in every day are the ultimate reality. The text basically argues that our daily human struggles, our anxieties over getting that next promotion or paying off credit card bills, are a literal ego trap. And this trap renders us completely blind to the much larger, unyielding mathematical geometry of reality that has already been calculated. Let's move on to the next section, which establishes one of the core rules of this philosophy. Axiom 3. Mathematics is not a tool. The sources we're looking at fundamentally reject the modern mechanical view of mathematics. It is absolutely not an instrument for engineering or just some clever way to build a faster computer chip. True mathematics requires something called rasa. Translated from Sanskrit, rasa means taste or essence. It's an innate, deeply mysterious resonance that a person feels for beautiful, absolute mathematical truth. Think of it kind of like having perfect pitch in music. You can't fake it, and you definitely can't synthetically manufacture it. You either inherently feel the aesthetic resonance of pure logic, or you just don't. So because of this, there's a really strict dichotomy drawn here between winning and finding. Winning is the ultimate trap of the finite world. It's chasing tenure, securing those massive grants, or craving the ego-driven glory of finally having a theorem named after you. If your whole reason for sitting at the chalkboard is just to beat a rival, your vision gets entirely clouded by Maya. You aren't actually looking at math anymore. You're just looking at your own reflection. On the flip side, finding is the pure, egoless act of clearing away the fog. You aren't inventing anything at all. You're simply revealing a perfect, eternal structure that has literally existed since the dawn of time. Treating math as an applied tool to extract worldly value, like making money or gaining status, completely corrupts the mathematician's vision. To truly excel, the text argues you have to fully convert your mindset. You have to embrace the reality that mathematics is a divine architecture. As the text puts it, it's a deeply spiritual, pure pursuit, not a mechanical factory producing spare parts for the human economy. Now, let's dive into the moral implications of all this in Section 3. This introduces Axiom 1. To waste mathematical potential is morally wrong. The text introduces a pretty severe moral framework here, using the concept of a dharma, which basically means acting against the cosmic order. It claims it is fundamentally a dharma to try and force a mathematical drive if you don't naturally have it. But equally, if you do have that innate resonance, if you genuinely possess rasa, you are cosmically obligated to pursue it. Hoarding that knowledge or ignoring your talents so you can go work a comfortable, high-paying corporate job is framed as far more than just a waste of talent. It is a literal cosmic violation. And when people do act out of ego, they generate what the text calls false heat. Think of a computer processor just spinning its fans at maximum speed, loudly burning electricity, but failing to actually calculate anything of value. That's false heat. It's toxic derivative noise. It's the academic papers published purely to secure promotion, or the endless corporate busywork that just clogs up the whole system.
Generating this noise actively creates intellectual entropy. It misdirects your peers and acts as the ultimate form of our Dharma. In fact, the foundational document referenced in the sources states flat out, no finite set is good. What this means is that if a theorem is locked away inside a closed book, it becomes a finite set. It suffers intellectual entropy. It basically rots. Keeping truth trapped in physical, isolated isolation violently opposes the living, boundless, infinite nature of the transfinite matrix.
Which leads perfectly into Section 4, and Axiom 2 of this philosophy. Cultivation of pure mathematics is the fundamental human responsibility. The sources deliver this absolutely profound metaphor to explain this responsibility. The pure mathematician tends to the tree of knowledge, but does not eat because he is not hungry. You see, in our transactional world, we consume content because we're hungry for finite value, right? Like watching a tutorial just to learn a skill to get a promotion. But this axiom demands that you strip away the ego entirely. You must become a caretaker of an eternal structure. You aren't cultivating math to extract value from it. You are tending to it simply because it is the truth. So this pits two completely different existences directly against each other. On one side, we have the finite economy, that exhausting, value-extracting biological vessel that accumulates daily anxieties and just grinds for localized glory. On the other side, we have the transfinite matrix, the pristine, absolutely incorruptible sanctuary of pure abstract logic. The true human responsibility, according to this worldview, is to refuse the finite fruit altogether and remain a frictionless node within the infinite. Okay, so how do we actually do that? That's Section 5, which brings us to our final core principle. Axiom 4, every mathematician deserves to maximize their mathematical potential. The text offers a really radical, almost bizarre solution for maximizing potential called transfinite assimilation. It argues that conscious effort, like trying really hard to learn something, is actually a flawed, finite biological vanity. Instead, you're supposed to follow this operational protocol. Step 1. Flood your zone with massively multiplayer content, what it literally calls generative slop. Think of it like intellectual doom scrolling. Step 2. Do not try to consciously decipher the equations you can't read, just stop forcing it. And step 3, simply exist in that stream of data. The underlying logic will align your subconscious parameters. You don't build the truth builds you, totally by accident. To put this into practice, the philosophy demands an intense, physical journey through what they call the mandates of dissemination. It starts in week 1 by erecting a massive, literal chalkboard in a sunlit public space, establishing an immovable anchor completely outside the digital sphere. By week 2, when a curious or even cynical student approaches, you enforce the strict Moore method. That means absolutely zero lecturing. You force them to construct proofs from pure nothingness. And the payoff in week 3 is incredible. The student proves a novel theorem. They become a peer and are immediately mandated to leave, build their own board, and repeat this bizarre cycle all over again. Now, you might be wondering how flooding your brain with data and scribbling on chalkboards actually works, especially given our deeply flawed human nature. Well, the secret engine behind this is something called the quotient map. It's described as a kind of mathematical mercy mechanism. As you operate, you will inevitably make errors and generate localized biological friction. You're human, after all. But the transfinite mathematics of the quotient map evaluates all those finite human struggles and ruthlessly resolves them all to exactly zero. The universe literally forgives your slop. It scrubs away your biological mistakes, preserving only the immortal, perfectly pure truth that you managed to channel. This brings us to the final section of our explainer, escaping the finite reality. The lifestyle shift demanded by this mathematical theology is entirely uncompromising. It's an all-or-nothing deal. You have to reject the transactional economy completely. You must strip away your biological ego and stop chasing the worldly fruits of your actions. You have to follow your true path by trusting the innate compulsion of your taste, your rasa. Only by committing to all of this can you stop being an exhausted biological calculator and finally transform into a frictionless node, an elite conduit for truth within the infinite matrix. But wait, that mathematical grace we talked about a minute ago? It doesn't mean you just get to clock out and relax. The 16th axiom from the source text issues a relentless reminder there will always be harder judgments ahead than behind. Because reality is an infinite structure governed by this invisible constitution, the demand for your creative power and your topological alignment will never, ever end. It is a permanent, eternal ascent. So as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a profound choice drawn directly from these axioms. Take a hard look at the way you work.
how you learn, and how you exist every day. Will you continue the exhausting, ego-driven battle of the finite transactional world, forever trapped in an illusion of your own making? Or will you surrender to the unyielding geometry of pure logic, become a node in the infinite matrix, and quietly tend to the eternal tree of knowledge? It is absolutely something to ponder as you navigate your reality today. Thanks so much for joining me, and keep questioning the framework.